A vague disclaimer before we get into the meat of the video today. I am not anti-reform. I am not anti-Farage. There's a lot of people that watch my channel that are Reform UK supporters and voters. Heck, I'm a Reform UK voter because there's no Restore Britain candidates currently. So this doesn't bring me any particular glee or excitement because everybody who's voting Reform, Tory or Restore is on the right side of politics in my view, heart in the right place and want the best for the country. I've met quite a few Reform people in person, some even infiltrated recent Restore Britain events up in Makerfield. Made some good friends, and that will continue to be the case. Having said that, what we need to discuss is what is going on with Farage and what I think the establishment is up to, which is what we're going to get to in this video. Now, the names that we need to remember are Cottrell and Harborne, okay? These are the two guys that are implicated in funding Farage, which is what I want to get into in this video. First of all, we have this story from about a month ago. £5 million question, £5 million question. Most Brits will never see $5 million in a lifetime. Farage received it as a private gift from a crypto billionaire just weeks before running as an MP. He now has a coastal property approved by a lavish 700k makeover, including a private lift. He is currently facing formal parliamentary investigation. Obviously, this is a lefty on X and the way it's framed. I've mentioned on a previous show that I don't much care whether somebody is gifted Farage £5 million. More power to him if he can get a friend who's going to give him £5 million. The question becomes, were the strings attached? The question becomes, what does this person expect in return for the £5 million £5 million gift, and is there anything to see? Clearly Parliament thinks so because they are investigating for this particular thing, and the jury is out. I think they're going to find him guilty. It's going to trigger a by-election. However, the caveat in Clacton is Farage is locally popular, and I think he would win the next by-election there. It's similar to Great Yarmouth and Rupert Lowe. It's like his personal fiefdom is his personal backyard, and he would be voted again because he's such a big name. But then we get into other stories that are coming out here, like this one here. Farage secretly funded by a convicted criminal. Now the headline says it all. When you get left-leaning publications, whether that's the Times or the Mirror, and the framing of this, I find suspect. Again, I don't much care what someone's been convicted of in the past. It's whether they are a reformed character and people can change. Remember what happened with James McMurdoch in Reform UK? Oh, he's a convicted wife beater. He beat up a woman when he was a teenager. He went to prison. He paid his debt to society. Now, when you get the liberal lefties coming down hard on people of the right with things like this, they are throwing their own principles and their own morals out of the window for a political point. They're saying that they're happy to have a lot of nonsense on the left, a lot of people that harm children on the left in political parties. They're happy with that, nothing to see there. But as soon as somebody on the right does something criminal, even if they're found guilty and convicted of a crime, that's it for them. You need to surrender public life and stay out of politics completely. This is the issue, this is the hypocrisy that we see here time and time again with the left. When you look at what happened in the Labour Party up in Manchester with the prospective Prime Minister Andy Burnham, he awarded a £4 million EV contract to his wife. And if this is proven true, would you consider it corruption? I would say yes. I would consider that corruption. I would consider that dirty. And it needs to be fully investigated and sanctions levied if wrongdoing has been proven to have happened. What I find curious about this whole thing about Farage, personal opinions aside, people can like him or hate him, I don't think it's helpful on the right to attack people on the right directly for personality clashes or anything of the sort. It is unhelpful. We are all on the right side. We just have different views on how we're going to get there. This is the issue that I've got when people attack Farage directly for whichever reason, like things like this. He should have known better. This may sink him. You may disagree. But it looks bad, generally speaking, if you're looking to come in and usher in a new brand of politics, a new style of politics. Looking like you're taking backhanders for favours is exactly what the Uni Party has done for time immemorial. It's always happened, and this is what we need to stop. The lobby, the private lobby, the sleazy tactics of mates paying you off to get questions in Parliament or to get legislation favourable to their interests brought in. This is the thing that always needs to be looked at and needs to change, in my view. Now, credit to Camilla Tominey. When she went on to GB News and interviewed Robert Jamrick recently about it, she didn't hold back. So I'm going to play the clip and I'm going to comment on the video as it comes up.
In the GB News studio, good morning.
Good morning to you too.
Big headlines in the Sunday Times reveal Nigel Farage secretly funded by convicted criminal. So has George Cottrell funded Nigel Farage in the 12 months leading up to the 2024 election?
George is an old friend of Nigel's, and Nigel has good friends who supported him over the years.
Did he fund him in that 12 months?
He gave him some support before he became a member of Parliament.
Okay, so he funded him in the 12 months before. Now, according to the Code of Conduct, new MPs must register any benefit received during the 12 months prior to their election which exceeds £300 in value and is in any way related to their political activities. There's a note on the record of £9,200. But if he's been funding security, drivers, staff and accommodation, he's obviously given more money than that, hasn't he?
That's a fair question from Camilla, and I seem to agree. It does look like there's more to see. Let's see what Jamrick says.
Well, not necessarily after he became a member of Parliament, because...
No, I'm saying in the 12 months before.
Well, the point here, the operative part of the rules that you just described, is if this is in a purely personal capacity or not.
Well, it can't be, can it? It's security, drivers, staff to help him with his social media.
Yeah, when he was a GB News presenter, Camilla.
But the rules are clear. There's the 12-month prior. So whether he didn't know he was going to run as an MP and he was elected, he still, by the look of it or by the sounds of it, didn't declare it. So this is the issue. This is the issue. This is the bone of contention here. This is pretty much a car crash from Robert Jamrick. We're going to continue. This doesn't look good. And that doesn't bring me any excitement or joy. It really doesn't, because there's a lot of good people in reform. And Farage has done good for the right of politics. He delivered Brexit. Many would say that he got us Brexit. Comment below, did he get Brexit?
Yes.
So your viewers will have watched him in the jungle. Let me you ask me a question. Let me finish it.
President and a national political figure at this point, isn't he? He's the honorary president
he was at that time, believe it or not, he was an ex-politician. He'd been on the jungle. He was presenting a GB News show, and an old friend of his gave him some support for things like security and staff to load up videos onto the social media of his performances on GB News. So it's nothing to do with his performance as a member of Parliament. He wasn't a member of Parliament at the time.
No, he wasn't a member of Parliament. I completely get that point. But if he's been funded by George Cottrell in the 12 months leading up to 2024, and the amount of money given is more than £300, if it's more than that, and it seems as if that financial support or benefit doesn't just have to be cold hard cash. Benefit could be allowing him to stay in his property near Buckingham Palace, for instance. If it might reasonably be thought by others to influence their actions or words as a parliamentarian, i.e. when they're elected, then it needed to be declared.
Well, it didn't.
This is, again, what you need to remember, whether it's something strictly legal or illegal, and if it's strictly legal and allowed. Remember back to the expenses scandal and how loose the parliamentarians played with the phrasing. If a duck pond in a politician's backyard or back garden, is that wholly and exclusively for him being an MP? Because that's what it says the expenses should be for, wholly and exclusively to benefit your constituency and your time as a parliamentarian. That's the wording, that's the language that's used. It needs to be wholly and exclusively for your duties as an MP. Having a duck pond in your back garden paid for by me, the taxpayer, that's not wholly and exclusively for anything, that's a perk. Alright? It's a similar type of thing here.
So they've declared. How can you possibly say that?
It didn't. He's an old friend. I mean, we're going around the houses.
Social media staff.
He's an old friend who gave him some money to support his activities before he was a member of Parliament. That had nothing to do with his life as a member of Parliament, because remember, he wasn't considering being a member of Parliament. He actually ruled it out.
This is about the 12. This is why. To be fair, you can do the whole nothing to see here. Clearly, there's something to see. Why? Because at the moment he's under investigation for Christopher Harborne's $5 million.
Camilla, because I've just answered and rebutted you on that point, you're now moving on to a totally different issue. But the reason this story, let's be clear. Right. You and I both know what's going on here. The reason this story is on the front page of the Sunday Times is a Labour-supporting newspaper that backed the Labour Party at the last general election, is worried that Nigel Farage is going to be our next Prime Minister, that the cosy consensus that has run this country for far too long is going to be shaken up, and there's going to be real change on the things that matter to the people watching this programme, like stopping the boats, getting people's bills down.
This is a valid point. They may have something on most people in Parliament, barring one person, which I'll get to later in the video. When are they going to use it, and how are they going to use it? This is why it's so valuable to have people that have not been politically exposed in their life. If they can go in with their hands clean, they've got nothing to pin on you. This is why we need to clean Parliament out and get a whole raft of new people that have never been in politics before, because they've got nothing they can use against you. This is the benefit of getting new people in all the time. You've not been corrupted by the system. You've kept your hands clean in private life, and you're a safe pair of hands. I am questioning why it's happening now. Andy Burnham has just got in. He's said that he's not going to call a general election when he becomes Prime Minister. And his buddies, his friends in the legacy media, are trying to give him a leg up by dishing the dirt on Farage. If Burnham doesn't call a general election, then it gives him a clean run for a couple of years at least. I think the establishment is doing all that they can to help their new guy, being Burnham. These are just my thoughts, but I digress, and we will continue.
Fixing our broken economy.
Your policy
and that Nigel is the only man who's going to do that. Okay. So they're trying to besmirch his reputation day in, day out, and it's failing.
Well, or they could just be looking into the background and the friends and the supporters and the funders of a man who wants to be the next Prime Minister.
Sure,
which is legitimate journalistic inquiry, isn't it?
George is an old friend of Nigel's.
Yes.
He doesn't have a role in reform. He made a mistake. And by the way, he is now actively helping the authorities. In fact, he wrote a book on it to try and ensure that things like this don't happen again in the future.
Well, he did plead guilty, didn't he, to being part of a money laundering conspiracy. He was jailed for 8 months. Is this the kind of person that Nigel Farage should be associated with?
It's just an old friend of his. Right. It's got no role.
I do take issue with what Camilla's saying here. All right? If you're convicted of a crime, first of all, innocent until proven guilty. Fair point, he pleaded guilty. But once you've served your time, you've paid your debt to society, it seems to me that there's people in the media, both in America and in Britain, that think, well, that means that you can't be a politician, you can't stand for public office, you cannot ask the public to vote for you because you are a criminal. That's writing people off for life, and I don't like that in any walk of life.
friends with many convicted criminals out of interest?
Well, people do make mistakes in life.
But are you friends with any convicted criminals? Do you take money from them? Do you have your security paid for by them? Do you stay at their houses? Any convicted criminals at all?
Allowed to have a friend.
Could you just answer that question?
He's allowed. Well, I have met people over the years who've made mistakes. Yes, Camilla.
The legacy media may also be trying to draw a equivalence between what Lord Mandelson, Peter Mandelson, the Labour grandee, was doing, staying at Epstein's private properties after he was convicted of being a nonce a few years ago, or quite a few years ago now. So they might be drawing that equivalence, or trying to draw that equivalence, not like for like. Laundering money and noncing kids is completely different. They're not in the same league, they're not in the same ballpark, but the tabloids may be trying to draw that comparison, the faulty comparison. But we'll end this here. When Rupert Lowe was ejected from Reform UK, I remember Nadine Dorries writing a hit piece on him before the charges between him and Zaid Yusuf were dropped, saying that he's the most right-leaning politician in Parliament, and he's dangerous. I think they called him dangerous because they've got nothing on him. He's clean. They've got no dodgy dealings they can pin on him, and they've got no skeletons in the closet that they can rattle at a moment's notice to come down on Rupert. These are my thoughts. This is my opinion. A lot of people on my channel are sympathetic to both restore and reform. I hope I've been fair. I'll leave you with this thought. If you think that Nigel Farage is our last hope, you are mistaken. I do think you are mistaken on that.
That boy is our last hope.
No, there is another.
As always, your mileage may vary. Comment, like, and subscribe. I will see you in the next video, and thank you again.